everybody, and welcome back to the Sideline Eye podcast. We're on our review show here, and we're looking back at Armagh's 3-point win over Donegal last Saturday evening. An important 2 points, it must be said, given the tightness of Division 1 at the minute. I'm joined by Kernan, and he's going to help us look back at the game and the overall league that Armagh have had so far. Aaron, as I say, it was an important 2 points, a big 2 points, no matter who got it between Armagh and Donegal. It was going to be huge. It just lifts you out of that sort of bottom 2 or 3, and that's the main thing at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. First things first is getting the points on the board is all that matters. I suppose then you can sort of sit and critique it and look at your pluses and minuses and where we think we can improve for latter league games. But that was the most pleasing thing Saturday night. The thing is just the way that division's going, and you're sitting there, look at League Sunday last night, and then you're starting to look ahead to other games and predict what might happen. I don't think we can take anything for granted. But the one thing that is for sure is it's in our hands. The next game's a home one against Galway. And I suppose we know the type of contest we had against them last year. We have a fair idea of what to expect from them. But yeah, the fact that it's in your own hands, you're not relying on anyone to do us a favour. If we go out and do the job over the last 2 games, he said there's a possibility of a league final, never mind looking down the table or worrying about what else is happening elsewhere.
Yeah, that's the craziness of it, is you're still looking over your shoulder on the relegation front, but you could literally still make a league final. Like it's crazy. It's why everybody says it's the best competition that GA have.
It is, and to be fair, it's across all the divisions. You're just keeping a keen eye on what's happening everywhere. I suppose even you go down to your Division 4. I suppose I've invested interest with Tony Mack and Oisin over teams down there. I don't think ever there's much interest in Division 4 National League. But yeah, obviously you want to see how those teams are going. But like you say, it's just so many teams playing against opponents of a similar level. The games are always tight, and they're always interesting. And our own division no different. I suppose the big one for me is looking ahead, where I thought once we the 2 points there, and I thought, yeah, that's it, we'll be fine. I think Donegal will be relegated. But I suppose just Tyrone, what they did yesterday has just thrown a bit of a spanner in things. And then I suppose the big one for me, without looking too far ahead, was that Monaghan have Mayo away in the last game, and it looks like Mayo pretty much have if they have another win, they'll have a league final place wrapped up. And it's just Monaghan have done the Houdini this past few years on the last day of the league whenever no one expected them to do it. So like I said, that's 3 weeks away. Go out, beat Galway, and you don't need to worry about what Monaghan do.
Go to Oman, not worry about the result, hopefully.
But, exactly.
Aaron, as I do every week, I open up to all my followers what they want us to discuss. And the last couple of weeks, it's been about our style of play and what has changed from last year. And there definitely has been a change. And I think a lot of people are maybe frustrated that we're not playing as open or maybe as free-flowing football as we did last year, as we've seen, again, like the likes of the Dubs in the first round of the league last year. We're kicking the ball more, we're attacking more. And we've seemed to taken a step back from that. We seem to be more defensive, and maybe against Kerry, I said in the podcast, I probably didn't mind as much against Kerry because like you're going down there. They were coming off a big beating. They've Clifford and O'Shea back. You can understand it, but this Donegal team, a weakened Donegal team, like I think Armagh fans want Armagh to go out and beat them and not be hanging on the last 10 minutes to have to do it, if you know what I mean. So have you noticed a big shift in the style of play that Armagh have had from last year?
There is, yeah. It's clear for all to see that definitely we're not keeping as many men ahead of the ball in terms of our foot passing. They just don't have the same options there. A lot of the long ball that does go in fairness, only the form of Andrew Murnan, like he's our standout player in every game so far. His consistency levels have been superb, and I think that's one of the biggest shining lights that I've taken so far of the league campaign. But yeah, in terms of how we're set up, we're definitely not playing on the front foot the same level as what we did last year. We seem to be happier to be more of a counter-attacking team where we're willing to sit back and invite our teams on, whether that's allowing them from kickouts or whether that's an open play, and then looking to hit them in the break. And I suppose it's not a game that we're used to. It's not a game that a lot of the boys are used to. So I don't know. It might potentially be taking them time to come to terms with it. We have been picking up a few injuries throughout where you maybe just don't have the same team set out. So again, I don't know whether that allows just maybe to a bit of inconsistencies in our performances. But I think whenever you look at where we were really good last year in your Tyrone game, Donegal game, Galway games, it was the intensity that we were playing with all over the field, in defending and one-on-one situations, or someone reading, like your Greg McCabe reading danger and being the +1 and doubling up and helping someone else out. But again, I suppose in my own head, I'm just picturing some of the link play and scores that we were getting in, say, kicking into the hill against Galway, where it was pop passes into the full forward line, Aidan Nugent's winning it, laying it off the rain, coming off the shoulder, over the bar, Mernon doing the same thing, Grug's doing the same thing. We just don't have the same link play going on at all this year. And I suppose whenever you defend in numbers, while we will have an outlet that we can kick to, it generally tends to be potentially just one, which means that player's option is to maybe take on 2, 3, 4 defenders by himself, or else hold on to the ball, retain possession, and wait for the runners to come. But every team now, or very, very rarely will a team, give you runners that are going to cause huge danger in terms of creating goal chances. 2 or 3 goals that just blows the game out completely, and a counter-attacking game, you're comfortable then, you can sit back, soak it up and pick teams off. But we're not getting them opportunities for the simple reason is Division 1 teams still track you from one end of the field to the other. You don't have the bluffers or the people hiding that aren't willing to do the hard work. So I think that's another reason why we're leaving teams in games longer, because we're not getting the same goals this year in comparison to what we did last year. And I think that's really what it is. We're not getting teams aren't switching off to give us the same opportunities to get our runners ahead of the ball, where we have maybe 2 or 3 breaking through and able to create and work goal opportunities.
The goals is the big thing, Aaron. We've scored 1 in 5 games, and it was a fortunate enough one against Monaghan, where we began and kicked the ball straight to TK. But last year we'd scored 7 by this stage. We'd scored a goal in every game, even though we were losing. To the likes of Mayo, we still got a goal, and obviously 2 against Dublin and Tyrone. So that's a major issue, isn't it, going forward? That even Derry on Saturday night, it took the goal to beat Dublin. They still needed that goal. It's a major issue. If you're going forward, you want to be hitting the net.
Yeah, I didn't realise there was that big of a difference now from last year to this. To beat the top teams come championship, you need to be over 20 points. You need to be hitting over 20 points in a game, and that's difficult to do if you're solely relying on points. It's all right if you're Limerick hurlers or something out there and you can puck a ball over from the middle of the field or your own half. You don't be too long topping them up, but in football, in championship, you need to be hitting 1, 2, 3 goals a game. You need to be hitting a goal a game, preferably 2, because it just means more. I know technically in the board it's only 3 points, but even if you're chasing a team down, like you've mentioned, Derry the other day, the goal, the difference. I know you were at the game. I was only watching on TV, but you could feel the lift that it gives the support then. And then that translates onto the field to the players. The adrenaline levels go up. The pace and hunger levels all across the field go up because they get a bit of a sniff. So it definitely that's a huge aspect that I suppose we need to get back to. But I suppose the positive is we know we're capable of doing it. It's why it's not happening. And I'm sure you have Donny and those boys there that they'll probably be sitting down to assess even tonight before training tomorrow night. What went wrong? Why are we not creating those opportunities? Was there opportunities there the other night that we just didn't take? But definitely it's a huge work on that we're going to have to improve on as we build over the next few weeks. Never even mind just championship, just these next few games against both Donegal and Tyrone. They're two defensively fairly sound. Well, I know Tyrone against Mayo weren't that hectic, but they're in general they're defensively sound teams that any opportunity we get, we need to be taking them and putting them away against those to make sure that we have a comfortable end to our league campaign and then building it in the championship.
And maybe one more piece of negativity before we move on is maybe the kickouts, and this again is the messages that's been coming through to me. The fact that Armagh don't press the kickouts and don't press any kickouts across 70 minutes, even on a free kick when they have everybody pressed up. And I know there's injuries around the middle of the field, and we've spoken that at length with, Ben Creeley, Oisin O'Neill, all missing, Kieran McInerney, Grimley's only coming back, Stephen Sheridan's still missing. But even Armagh's kickouts go long, so we obviously feel we're capable in the middle of the field, but it's just dropping off these kickouts. I know fans are hugely frustrated by it, and you can't push up on every kickout and contest every kickout. That's obvious, but not to press any. It is frustrating now, and trying to watch it, isn't it?
And in the modern game, it's very unusual. You would have to say. We see ourselves as one of the top teams. There's none of the other top teams that are doing that. So I don't know the reason behind it. I'll be honest with you. I'm not really sure why we don't. I'd be looking at it and I see certain circumstances in games where it's very hard to do it if you're counter-attacking and it's a shot from open play and the goalkeeper's flying, picks the ball up, sits it down. Yeah, it's sensible to just make sure that we have our 15 men back behind the ball, that one quick kick out's not taking out maybe 3 or 4 of it. But I think the frustrating bit for supporters in that there is whenever, particularly it's a free kick, and you have a minute to organise it and set it up, where you're going to put the opposition team under huge pressure, or maybe goad them into going to a certain area that we want them to go to. We are leaving maybe a pocket of space where we can move across and crash into. So yeah, I suppose my untrained reply is I don't know. I can't understand it at all. I think that there definitely are opportunities in every game there where we could have put a real press on. And I suppose the frustration comes from the last 10 minutes against Mayo, whenever they just went after everything, crashing every ball that was coming around the middle of the field, the ferocity they were playing it. Just again, we're speaking as spectators and fans watching games, like the adrenaline rush that was going around the stadium around us, it was class. It was brilliant to be there. It got everyone involved. And then I suppose it was just laid on against Kerry, where we went ahead again and we had the opportunity where I thought, yes, press them now, because Kerry didn't look like they're up to much. They were definitely there for the taking, and same thing, we just dropped back. And you give a team of that quality potential to come and build that pace at you, and to pick this off for the couple of late scores, which I suppose took a win from us, where we had that opportunity to be coming back up the road with the 2 points, and it would have been an even bigger confidence boost for the boys. So yeah, again, I could say maybe are they not trying to show their hand? I don't even think that's the reason behind it. I think they obviously feel that this is what suits best in terms of winning the ball back, and maybe giving us space then to break into, or have numbers that are breaking a pace. But is all this coming together to be a part of the reason why we're maybe not getting the goals that we've just spoke about? I'm only thinking out loud as I'm talking here, because I say I wasn't aware that it was that big of a difference in terms of goal chances that we took last year or created in comparison to this year. So like I said, it might be working one way, but then it's clearly hindering us in another. So I think there has to be a bit of a balance found there.
And Aaron, just something I seen on Twitter on Saturday night, and I don't think this is a big issue, but there was somebody giving off about Ethan coming up to hit left-footed free kicks and giving off about Armagh's forwards not being fit to do it. But I don't know how you feel. I don't think it's a big issue. You yourself would have come up. I know you're not a keeper, but you're having to come up from the defence to hit free kicks. Rory Grugan's not there, so it's either Ethan or Aidan Falker, and they're coming from basically the same position. So I don't think it's a big issue, is it, that none of the forwards are hitting the left-footed frees?
It's not really. Like, what does that person want us to have someone to kick one with their bad foot just because they're a forward? Like, I don't know about that there. I can tell you, I suppose the funny one was, like, I never even hit frees for cross. And then it was, we were Paddy McKeever actually wasn't playing for, I think it was maybe Donegal, like in 2005, was his first year. And McConville would have been deadly if he thought he was going to score it, he'd come over and he'd take it. But I remember it was like 14-yard line, nearly towards the sideline. He started then calling me up. And I was like, geez, I've never hit a free kick in my life for cross, never mind Armagh. But luckily it went over. And if Paddy wasn't playing, I sort of ended up on them as well. But to me, I suppose, yeah, the only other alternative is bring up Aidan as well. Like, obviously, I know even whenever Aidan first came on to the Armagh panel and I was way over cross, he was hitting the frees for a whole league campaign for us. So there's no issues there. But the only thing about Aidan then is he tends to be getting a man marking job, where if a kick out is coming quick again, or he just needs to be focused on that role. Where, in fairness to Ethan, he's sort of coming out around the middle of the field, nearly of a free role for opposition kick out. So maybe it might mean that he can go back and just find his way around the middle of the field, pick up a bit of space, and then make his way back. So, to be honest with you, either of those boys taking a free kick, it wouldn't bother me, because I think that they'll be equally as good. And like I said, Rory, come on as a sub, he might be back for the next day in terms of starting. So, not a major issue for me. We just don't have as many left-footed players on the team as what you might like, but that's the way it is. It's not a big deal as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, just I thought that I didn't realize what his big issue was. But I suppose we talked about him, we mentioned him a couple of times there, Andrew Murnan, and it's worth speaking about him, that the form he's in, he's been really, really good every game that he's played in this year. I can't remember, I don't think he had as big an impact against Monaghan, but since that he's really hit top form. And I don't think you'd have played with Andrew, would you? He maybe come in a year or two after you retired.
Yeah, he probably would have been in a bit sooner. Only just, poor lad was always tortured with injuries. And we'll touch wood while we're talking. That it stays that way, because he had a probably cruel 10 years where it was just one setback after another. And I think as frustrating as it was for all of us as Armagh supporters, because we know the quality that he has. I can't imagine the frustration he had. So I'm sure he's enjoying the run that he's getting at the moment, and long may it continue, because Andrew Murnan playing in the form that he's in at the moment means Armagh are a hell of a lot better team. So as an Armagh supporter, you're delighted, but on a personal level, you're delighted, because yeah, he had too much potential, too much quality for to let him slip by through pure bad luck with injuries. So I suppose, I don't know whether, well, that's a huge plus. And then I don't know whether it's a negative or a plus that some of our other forwards aren't hitting the same those potential levels. And yet we're still, you say, sitting mid-table. With the positive spin is that we look at the top end of it instead of going down. So yeah, I don't know whether to look at that as a positive or negative, in terms of we definitely, there's so much more in us attacking wise, in terms of the personnel that we have. And I think, if, like I said, if we can find that balance in terms of how we defend, how we attack, and the shape we have whenever we're attacking, in terms of giving us more options that are ahead of the ball, I think that you'll not be too long finding that you'll have another right few boys who's hitting a consistent level, the same as Andrew. And once we hit that, we'd be really, really hard to handle for anybody across the country. I suppose that's probably goes back a wee bit to the frustration that you would all have as supporters, that we know the potential is there, and we just don't feel that it has clicked as of yet. But hopefully that's something that will build over the next few weeks. And to be honest with you, the management team you have in place, they've been there, they've done it, they've seen it all. Like, you can only imagine, I suppose, the level of detail and self-analysis that's going on there week in, week out, in terms of what can we do that's going to have us a better outfit for championship. And to be fair, you couldn't argue that they're not doing it, that they haven't got the best for Armagh at heart and what they're trying to do there. So yeah, like I said, we'll keep the positive head on here, and we'll just look forward to the goal again.
And another positive, Aaron, I suppose, was towards the end of the game where it was cagey enough. There was a point in it. Donegal had come back at us, and Charlie O'Byrne's really stood up at the end. Couple of big catches around the middle of the field, and obviously his last point in rain as well. Swinging over the free and then going back. He was like Darragh O'Shea in his pig catching that ball in under the crossbar. Like real leadership from them two boys, and them two boys have been, I think this is their 5th year maybe now on the county scene. So they're young, but they've been about a couple of years, and they showed real leadership that last couple of minutes, didn't they?
They did, and Charlie Og probably did similar to what we've seen. A number of individuals, over the past few weeks were really, really eye catching stuff. Like you said, it was actually vital at that stage. I never thought we were going to be beat the whole way. I thought we were comfortable. I thought we were way better than Donegal. I just couldn't believe that they were still close enough to us. But to be fair, for about a 6 or 7 minute spell, in terms of, you said, his fielding, his driving forward, winning the free, doing the 1-2, and then kicking the super point from the shed side, like really, really drove into the game. Whenever it was badly needed, got across the lane. Remind you a wee bit of Soupy against Monaghan, Jason Duffy against Roscommon. Like I say, it was just pure individual brilliance. Just for a spell, it just put that bit of daylight between us. And then, like I said, obviously, whenever we'd gone the 3 up and the high ball come into the square, no better man to be there than to rein and sense danger, and just throw whoever the hell was in his way out of his way to make sure that he got the ball. He loves that. He loves that bit of it where he just doesn't want anyone else to have the responsibility of it. He's like, get out of the way, I'll do it myself. So again, that's proper leadership, and that's what proper captains do. So yeah, it just made sure that we seen out what could have been just a dangerous enough last 60 seconds.
And Aaron, just before we finish up, congratulations to the under-20s. They qualified for the league final. They'll play Longford this week. I'm not sure where or when the game is going to be played, but it's definitely this weekend. Great to see an Armagh team coming through and getting a bit of success. I know they've no silverware as of yet, but getting to the league final, it's a big thing. And I know obviously your team was successful, your under-21 team. It's a big thing for the underage players coming through that they can make these finals and hopefully, fingers crossed, get a bit of silverware.
Yeah, it's absolutely massive. It's great to see it. In fairness to Barry, like they put in a huge effort last year and didn't remotely get the reward out of it in terms of the performance that they put in up against Donegal. Same thing this year. They've been training from early doors. They have a strong squad together. And the big thing again, I suppose if I can just relate to coming through, is like our team that won the under-21 All-Ireland. Like we'd reached a league final whenever we were minors. We lost the first round of the championship to Tyrone by a point, and they went on to win the All-Ireland. And then 3 years later, we ended up beating Tyrone after extra time in the Ulster semi-final that year. But not even that game alone, we had lost the year previous to Antrim, and Jesus, that was a low. Because we had a good team, we had a fairly good squad, some really good experienced players, didn't perform at all. But the following year, whenever we actually won the All-Ireland, just beating Antrim alone in that championship game, and the confidence it gave us going into the Throne game, just one win. That's all you need, is one win, and it's unbelievable how much momentum can come off it. So in terms of what they're building in that Philly McGuinness League, it's been really good, really positive so far. Hopefully to go ahead and do the business, get the win against Longford, and then it sets them up brilliantly for their game against Monaghan and Inniskeen in a couple of weeks. The draw probably hasn't been kind, as we ended up, I think, memory, Donegal, Ballyfunfain, Fridays or Wednesday nights with no support behind them. But yeah, I would hope that a local derby against Monaghan in a couple of weeks' time and Inniskeen will bring out a big Armagh support. And that means a lot to these young lads too. I suppose the way the age grades have changed, you just don't see as much of underage in terms of your minor or what used to be under 21 as what it used to be years ago. So if we get a win here, hopefully there's a bit of momentum that comes with that there, and they get a huge turnout to see them against one in a couple of weeks. And like I said, the work is done at this stage. They have months of coaching, conditioning work under their belt. I'd love to see them just get one win under their belt and see where it takes them, because they've definitely put the time and effort in to deserve that victory, and see where it takes them.
Yeah, it's a big opportunity for them, and fingers crossed they can get over the line. And as always, we'll be covering that game and everything else that's coming up this weekend. Obviously, there's no Armagh game coming up this weekend. It's in 2 weeks' time against Galway, but we'll hopefully have a podcast on Thursday. We'll try to get maybe Barry O'Hagan or some of the under-20s on. Aaron, great to hear from you. Thanks for giving us your thoughts, and we'll look forward to speaking to you again down the line.
Cheers, Sean.